Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. We are embarking on a rather sophisticated dissection of human instinct. We're going to examine the very wiring of our survival, pulling directly from the behavioral research of former FBI Special Agent Joe Navarro, the combat psychology of Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, and the psychological frameworks of Amy Cuddy. So get comfortable because we are about to decode the hierarchy of your own wild brain.
Have you ever wondered why our bodies seemingly betray us under extreme stress? Why do our minds just go completely blank, our hands shake, or our stomachs drop to the floor? We've all been taught that classic phrase, fight or flight, right? But what if I told you that common wisdom is actually, half backward? You see, our reactions aren't a simple binary choice. They're actually a deeply ingrained ancestral hierarchy driven by a primal part of our brain that literally hasn't changed in millions of years.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our precise, step-by-step roadmap for today. 1. The limbic legacy. 2. First defense, the freeze. 3. Second resort, the flight. 4. Final option, the fight. 5. Condition black, total hijack. And finally, 6. Leashing the inner puppy. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The limbic legacy. Meet your inner puppy.
We are talking about the limbic system. This is the primitive, wild brain responsible to our visceral survival instincts. Former FBI agent Joe Navarro actually calls this the holy grail of body language, and for good reason. It reacts instantaneously to the environment without any conscious thought whatsoever. Meanwhile, combat psychologist Dave Grossman effectively compares this midbrain to an animal, specifically an inner puppy. It's simple, it reacts entirely to conditioning, and when it senses a threat, it doesn't reason with you, it just reacts.
Section 2. First defense. The freeze.
Notice how the hands here are flash frozen, just suspended in midair. Millions of years ago, early hominids traversed the African savanna alongside some massive, terrifying feline predators. And what attracts a predator's attention? Movement. So before you can fight, before you can even run, your limbic brain's very first survival strategy is to completely cease all movement to avoid detection. You might actually notice this today. If a loud noise interrupts a meeting, people will literally freeze, their hands hovering right over their keyboards. It is the exact same prehistoric instinct at play.
And this brilliantly illustrates a more subtle, modern manifestation of that freeze response, the turtle effect. Just notice the shoulders rising up toward the ears. It happens when someone is suddenly humbled, loses confidence, or is subconsciously trying to make themselves small and unnoticeable in the face of a perceived threat, like, say, a boss asking a really difficult question. It is simply the limbic system attempting to hide you in plain sight.
Section 3. Second resort, the flight.
Now look closely at the subtle distancing behaviors here. When freezing fails, the brain demands distance. As Navarro notes, the feet and legs are actually the most honest parts of the human body. They're hardwired to react first. If you are in an uncomfortable conversation, your face might be smiling politely, but your limbic system will subconsciously point your feet directly toward the nearest exit. It is a dry, almost amusing reality of our biology. Your brain is actively trying to walk away from the threat, even while you're standing completely still. Physical flight is literally sprinting away from danger. But, modern decorum completely prevents us from just running out of an uncomfortable boardroom. So, our brains rely on psychological flight instead. We lean our torsos away from disagreeable colleagues, we place objects in front of us as barriers, or, like we just saw, we subtly point our feet toward the door. It achieves the exact same evolutionary goal, creating distance.
Section 4. Final option. The fight.
So what happens when freezing and flight are impossible? We reach the absolute last resort of the limbic system. Now, fighting isn't just about throwing punches. In our modern context, fighting manifests as aggressive posturing, territorial violations, or intense pacifying behaviors, like the eye blocking you see right here. This is a survival mechanism to literally protect the brain from seeing undesirable or threatening information. When cornered, the brain generates immense stress, and we exhibit these pacifying behaviors to soothe our nervous system right before an explosive reaction.
Because, ultimately, the limbic brain's ultimate survival tactic is converting fear into explosive rage. When that midbrain animal feels trapped, it puffs itself up. It operates on a very simple, primitive logic. The loudest and largest animal survives.
Section 5. Condition black. Total hijack.
To understand what happens when this fear and rage peak, combat psychologist Dave Grossman maps out escalating physiological conditions tied directly to our heart rate. We start in condition white, Unfocused, completely vulnerable. You definitely never want to be here in a dangerous situation. Then comes condition yellow, alert and psychologically prepared. When extreme stress hits, we enter condition red. At a heart rate roughly between 115 and 145 beats per minute, your visual and cognitive reaction times are actually at their peak optimal performance for combat and survival. But as that heart rate continues to climb, things start to go terribly, terribly wrong.
So the crucial point is this specific number. The catastrophic breakdown happens at exactly 175 beats per minute.
In condition black, which is anything above 175 beats per minute, the rational forebrain, the logical, reasoning human mind, completely shuts down. The midbrain puppy, that wild animal instinct we discussed earlier, completely takes over. This is exactly why you can never, ever argue with a truly enraged or terrified person. You cannot reason with them because the logical part of their brain is quite literally offline. They are entirely at the mercy of their limbic system.
Section 6. Leashing the inner puppy.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that nature actually gave us a mechanical override for our own nervous system. Think of your autonomic nervous system as a big, shuddering, shaking machine that has only one control lever sticking out of it. Your breathing is that control lever. By controlling your breathing, you forcefully seize control of the entire sympathetic nervous system.
Here are the precise steps to regain conscious control when the midbrain hijacks the system. First, acknowledge the extreme stress response. You feel that freeze, the urge to flee, or that escalating rage. Second, engage in tactical breathing to act as a physical leash on that puppy. It's classical conditioning. Third, as your breathing physically forces your heart rate down below 175 beats per minute, your rational forebrain reboots. This is how we move from reactive survival into what psychologist Amy Cuddy calls presence, a state of grounded, calm control.
It's a rather incredible realization, isn't it? We are carrying around a 5-million-year-old piece of survival hardware right in our heads. It dictates our posture, points our feet to the exits, and can entirely hijack our logic when our heart rate climbs. But we also hold the lever to control it. So I leave you with this final thought. When the wild brain barks and the extreme stress hits, will you allow yourself to be a panicked, helpless sheep? Or will you master your own biology, pull that lever, and command the room with grounded presence? Thank you for exploring the source material with me today on this explainer. Keep learning and keep breathing.